Mhm.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm very excited to welcome Helen Eimers. She is a seasoned success coach, previous nurse, entrepreneur, nurse by trade, and she's been helping women with their business for the last 7 years. She really focuses on really revitalizing that midlife journey. And so I'm really excited to have this conversation because not only are you in this season yourself, but I know several women were asking me when this was because they're really excited. And I think that midlife is kind of where things get fun. And we've been told this like big myth that it all ends and it's actually when everything opens. So,
Mhm.
can you just dive right in? Is there anything I missed that you want to share about yourself first? And then tell us about the story and the origin of your business.
Absolutely. So grateful to be here. As Candace said, I work with women. I'm a success coach. I really love to connect with women who are entrepreneurs, who have a mission and a vision, and who are just excited to share and expand their life. I like to call them my amplifiers, right? They're just kind of like on fire. And what happens so often is that we get inundated with the stories of what midlife means, right? Like my life is over. I remember my first midlife crisis, which I have renamed, recoined as midlife awakening. But I was 28 years old and I found my first gray hair, which now I'm embrace it, right? This was 10 years ago. Found my first gray hair, didn't love my body, couldn't look in the mirror and say that I love myself. And I just knew something had to change. And for most of my life, I really just kind of put on a smile and really just pushed down a lot of those emotions and what I was feeling. And so I'm just on a mission to help thousands, millions of women to be able to look in the mirror and say, I love you, to put on the lens of love. I love to have fun in my coaching. I have props all over. These are my heart glasses. It's like, how can we see not only others through the lens of love, because we're really good at that as women, right? Helping, giving, like supporting others, but like, how can we see ourselves through that lens of love? So, in a nutshell, that is like a little bit about Helen Eimers. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. And, something I want to add to that is that, in the journey of self love, I think we have to really start to define what that means for us and not what we've constructed based on all of the world and the expectations and all of that. And you're so right. Like, as women, and this is something one of these days it's going to be studied, and I'm going to find a doctor to do it. So, shouting it out now. But I really feel like we enter perimenopause and menopause because we spend our entire lives giving and serving to others. And it's like
Mm.
the body's physical way of stopping us and making us focus on ourselves. So
Mm.
one day when that's like a thing, I'm telling you, it's out there.
Yeah.
So, anyways, so let's dive into what got you started in coaching because nursing very different than, well, maybe not so much than the work you're doing now.
Yeah. So I've been a nurse for 16 plus years. I love nursing. I've always loved helping people. I grew up in a very small community where that's what you do. You like everyone knows you, whether you like it or not. Everyone's up in your business and you help everyone, right? You have each other's back. And my dad is a professional volunteer. That's what I like to coin him as. And he's, so my whole upbringing was volunteering and helping. And so when in as a junior in high school, when someone had to make me decide, or someone said you have to decide what you're going to do for the rest of your life, number one, that was scary because I'm a dreamer. And it's like, what if, right? Like and my dad always told me you can do anything, but and I love that, but so many people say that, right? Like you can do anything, but it has to be in the confines of um you know a college and a degree and things like that. And I'm so grateful for the work that I did. And as a nurse, I learned so much. I worked in a very small hospital, and you're everything, right? You're like in the sticks, like, oh, have you ever delivered a baby? Oh, I saw one. Okay, you're the nurse today, right? And so it's like that's kind of how it works. So it was baptism by fire. And I loved what I did because I loved learning. And I just thought I would always be in the small town hospital for years. And after a while, after giving so much, but not taking care of myself, not, uh, you know, recognizing the stories that I kept creating in this place and in my mind and in my life, I got really burnt out, right? My thoughts were like, oh, nobody else cares. I'm working so hard. Nobody can do it like I can, right? And I just was, making myself responsible for everyone else. And as a nurse, like, you're literally taught to save people. So I was running around trying to save everybody, literally and physically and emotionally. Yet it's so much easier to do that for someone else than for yourself, because you got to sit in your own shit, right? Like, you have to, sorry, I don't know.
No, we're good here.
I'm honest and I'm real, and you have to get uncomfortable. And so many people, even people I love in my life so dearly, like, I just see them, pivoting or avoiding or numbing or pouring into someone else, right? One of my dear friends, family friends, her husband died by suicide a few years ago. And the most powerful part, his daughter wrote his obituary. And the last sentence in the obituary, which I live by every day, I remember every day, it's a great reminder, is he was so busy taking care of everyone else that he forgot to take care of himself.
Wow.
And thank you for that message. And they have raised so much awareness around suicide and mental health. And I've been a part of that, speaking and supporting them in that effort. But just remember that, right? Like, how busy are you taking care of everyone else that you forget to take care of yourself? And we poo-poo it. We're like, oh goodness,
Right.
So that was really a catalyst for me before that, right? When I was in burnout mode. And I've always done things very unconventional, right? If you tell me to do X, I'll probably do Y, Z, and, maybe number 2. And so when I started having kids and I realized I had this midlife crisis, I'm like, I want to work from home. I want to work from home. So I started to pursue that. And for 2 years, I pursued a job, and everyone was like, you're crazy. They don't want to hire you. Like, you're being so annoying. And I like to call it professionally persistent. I built my resume. I called and checked. I was eager. And they hired me as a nurse case manager, not having any experience. They'd never done that before. And I was working federal contracts for a company out of Washington, D.C. And it was felt like the lavish life from a girl from South Dakota. So I did that for 8 years. And on the side, I was taking care of my health, and I was coaching people with Beachbody, actually, to just really get healthy, to just, right. I had gone on my own transformation journey, and I supported them. I coached them, accountability groups, for 2 years straight. And then I just started to see that when the groups were done, when the accountability was gone, they would fall off. They would go back to the habits. And I'm like, I want to help them deeper. And I told one of my clients, like, hey, because she was so worried about weight, right? But her thought trying to lose weight was, I'm fat. And I'm like, you don't need a weight loss program. You need a life coach, right? You need to shift your thoughts. And so I got into life coaching, and I soon found that all of the most incredible women that I love working with were women entrepreneurs, someone who had a mission, a passion, a vision. And they got into the work for freedom, but they were feeling overwhelmed. Their mind never shut off. Their work is never done. And you can do things differently, right? And it's so, we have fun. I teach my clients how to activate every single day. And most women think, I need to drink a bottle of wine every night, or I need to leave on a sabbatical for a week, or I need to get away from my kids. And I'm like, this is all part of your life, and running away will not fix things. Running away is going to make it even worse when you come back, and you're actually not going to get to rest at all. So I really help women find the rest in the work that they do, so that they can just create so much impact in this world. So that's kind of a flowing journey of how I got to what I do today. So I speak, I write, I inspire, I educate, I hold really beautiful space for these women who are just not so nice to themselves. And we just learn to be kind. We learn to look at ourselves and the work that we're doing through the lens of love, because there will always be work to do. There will always be problems to solve. And that's the fun part. It's not about solving all the problems. It's about being big enough to respond and remain calm while solving.
Yeah. Yeah, you brought through so many really important threads that I want to loop back on. First, like hearing the story of loss, that is something that's close to my heart because I have lost two previous spouses. We were not together at the time, one being by suicide. And he was a paramedic firefighter and struggled because again, when you don't know what they see, and especially in the health industry, you see all the great stuff and you see really, really terrible things too. And to witness that firsthand and watch somebody's mental health struggle, it's hard. And to hear, that his daughter carried that message with such strength and wisdom to help others shine light on these very issues that the healthcare system has. It's really beautiful. And if there's anything that I can do to support them, I would love to, because again, we go through these experiences to shine light for the difference that it makes. So that was one thing that just really touched my heart. And then the other part was just this reminder that escapism, and I talk about this often because I call my practice grounded spirituality for that reason. Because when we're seeking anything, it doesn't matter if it's coaching, if it's spirituality, prayer, meditation, if we're not sitting in our shit, and you said it perfectly, we're not going to get anywhere if we don't, right? Like we have to be willing to have that super raw and real, like look and own our parts of things. And that can be hard to hear when you've gone through something traumatic or hard, and you can still move through it. So thank you for that reminder, because I think it's really important for people to hear that there is potential and possibility. And the third part was just the way in which we operate our business and operate it differently. It sounds like you do a lot of nervous system work and helping people like see that, yeah, you can go and be gone for a week, but what are you actually doing when you're gone? You're probably stressed out. You're not even, yeah. So I love that you really remind them that it is something that you have to create the most, I would say, the best ish balance that you can, because it's never going to be balanced anyway. And there's no need for that perfectionism within it.
Yeah.
And so, you went from being burnt out, you experienced that, and that kind of is what I hear drives your desire to help women not do that to themselves. Because again, we're literally combating not only our environment, but then our own internal chatter. And, we want to do the things we're passionate about, but there's like 12 lists of things to do. And,
Yeah.
you're burning the candle at both ends. And what do you see is one of the biggest barriers when your clients are coming in to even seeing things differently, like to seeing the potential in things being different?
So I'm going to use an example from one of my coaching calls yesterday.
Mhm.
As an entrepreneur and in life, we wear so many different hats. I know that's like a term everybody uses, right? But it's like we wear so many different hats, whether you're a mom or a wife or an employee, or you have your own business. And then when you have your own business, you're like the marketing person, and you're the social media person, and you're the customer service person, and you also do the work that you do or the things that you create, as far as structure around that. And really just being so intentional. One of the questions I love to ask is, what are you making this mean about you? Right? So if we are just really struggling with something, or we're putting a lot of pressure on ourselves, number one, I see women put so much pressure on themselves for deadlines. And I'm like, whose deadline is this? And they're like, it's mine. I was like, do you
Mm,
like enjoy that? Gosh, your boss is a bee. She's a royal bee, right? Like she doesn't like to take breaks. She doesn't like if you ever listen to John Acuff's book Soundtracks, he talks about this. Like his story starts and he talks about the most terrible boss you can ever imagine. I'm sitting there like, oh, how is this legal? Oh my gosh, what an a-hole. And it's like, the boss was me. That was me. And I was like, oh yeah, that was so good.
yeah.
So John Acuff is someone I love to follow. But number one, they put a lot of pressure on themselves. Number two, they haven't yet given themselves permission. Right. Yesterday during a coaching call, one of my clients, she was just like struggling with strategy, right? It's like a process, a workflow. How do you automate this? I love to help my amplifiers delegate. Yeah. Or automate, right? Like, how can you make this easier for yourself and for those you're serving? How do you serve more? How do you sell more? How do you share more? And I said, okay, so if you were to sit at a boardroom and have all of your staff, think of all of the departments in your business, even though it's just you, but if it just visual, I'm a very visual person. So I love to play. I love to play, right? And so I said, okay, and who's your strategist? Who's your strategist? What's her name? And she said, oh, Carrie. And so I said, okay, Carrie, like, today, you're going to, however you want to activate, and this is why it's so powerful to activate. And I talk about this a lot in my work, but like activate into her today, right? Like maybe you put on a different hat. If you've ever read the book Alter Ego, that's a great one too, to just be like, put on the glasses, you become this person that supports you, right? It's so powerful. So I said, okay, become Carrie today just for 20 minutes and have her write out the structure. And she's like, I can do that. I was like, yes, right. And so a lot of times we need permission. We're waiting for permission. We're waiting for validation from someone. And so I talk a lot about self-validation versus waiting, right? Something I have on my goal list or my vision sheet right in my bathroom. Anyone who comes to my house sees my vision list, my goals for the year, as well as all my kids are plastered all over our walls in our bedrooms, our bathrooms. It's stop waiting for others, right? How often do you wait for others? Like for an answer or like for permission or to step forward or for validation, right? So that's what I see so much is people are waiting for others versus taking action, right? Action drives clarity. Often we're waiting for clarity. We're waiting to find it. Same with motivation. You create motivation. You create clarity by taking action and you don't know until you do it. And it's scary, right? And you have to feel that. And something I, connected with recently is like, are you seeking comfort or are you seeking truth? Mm-hmm. And I'd rather seek truth. And I know y'all would too in the long run, right? It's like you always are going to feel discomfort. Do you want to feel it now? Or do you want to feel it a year from now when you didn't do what your heart really desired? So I loved, when you were sharing, that's what I see most in women is like waiting for permission, waiting for validation, and really just compartmentalizing those parts of their business so that they can get things done because your brain is so beautiful and it has so many thoughts and it will try to protect you. It's so smart. It's so it like wraps you up and it's like, I'm going to keep you safe. So another way I help women with that nervous system work is I am a certified hypnotherapist and people like have so many thoughts around that. First of all, I always am having women and myself define what does that mean for you, right? Like what does success mean for you? What does sales mean for you? What does balance mean for you? Because if it means that you have to have everything in the same buckets all at once, it's going to feel awful. My definition of success used to mean that I have all my shit together. So of course it felt awful because whoever has, right? Like who set that up, Helen? And I was like, yeah. It was but I just really love too how you talked about balance, and it's not about balance in everything having the same number of pegs in the same bucket. It's about, balancing what you need. Like I'll ask my clients all the time, like, what do you need? So in hypnotherapy, essentially what I help my clients do is I help them regulate their nervous system so they can remain calm because there will always be problems. And it also helps them really identify those thoughts that are running the show. They're allowing, like, I always like visualize a stage, right? Who's up on stage right now? Mm-hmm. Oh, it's crazy, dramatic, overworked, overrun Helen. Oh, why am I giving her the stage? Do I want to? And also taking out the identifiers of good or bad, because people are like, oh, that's good, or I should have done this. It's like, no, you did it. That's the fact. And then you get to shift from that. You get to learn from it. You get to grow from that. But people are like, is this good? Is this bad? Is it right? They're looking for that validation. I'm like, it's not good or bad. It's the choice that you made. And so I like to remove labels from kind of everything.
Yes, oh my gosh, labels. Labels are the death of us. Like yeah. Literally, quite literally.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And really just taking that, like you talked about taking time off. Yesterday, right. And number one, allowing our emotions and acknowledging them. That does not mean you like accept them. Like I'm saying this incorrectly, but like if you have an emotion that comes up, acknowledge it and allow it versus tamping it down. Yesterday morning, I realized in my journal, every morning I wake up before the house because that's my grounding. I pray and I journal. And as I'm journaling, there were so many emotions. My youngest daughter went to kindergarten. We had a theft of an item from our family. It just felt really heavy. And so when I got on a call with one of my most dearest friends that we do a weekly power hour, number one, I wanted to avoid the call because I knew what would happen. I'm going to get on the call and I'm going to cry. And I just didn't feel like doing it. Right. Like I was just like, in my head, it's like, and I journaled it out. It's like, literally I wrote, I want to numb. I want to sleep. I want to lay on my couch and watch TV, which I never do, like ever. And so like, I recognize that. And when I got on the call with her, she shared too that she's like, I just don't feel motivated. I feel overworked. Everyone needs me. And then we just decided to take an hour and a half that afternoon to step away, right? Yeah. To go to the driving range and hit some balls. And it was powerful. And that's not escaping. That is being so intentional with your energy. Because if we would have continued to show up to our work with that energy, it doesn't serve us. It doesn't serve anyone else. And guess what? The moment we made that decision to give back to ourselves, we got so much done between the time in our appointment. And then, that carries motivation in the rest of the week. Right. So it is not a question of like getting rid of hard times and problems. It's like, you will feel it. What are you going to do with it? What do you choose to do with it?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, you said something, well, you said a lot of things that are just really important to really hit hard, are that we don't have to keep pushing ourselves, because I always remind people that like people can feel the energy of what you're creating when you're creating it. So if you're stressed out and you're sitting there trying to get something done, it is felt on the receiving end, whether you realize it or not. And we don't think about that. It is literally the energy that you're pouring into this project. And if you're able to, like you said, step away and serve yourself, you then can serve at a bigger capacity. And we all need to get better at this. Like, I'm talking to myself. I have to check in with myself all the time, because if I'm in this same mode where I'm like, well, I really have like 35,000 things that I need to get done, it can be overwhelming. And so when we do, again, and I think you're saying it so many times, it's permission and it's acknowledgement. And when we can actually feel what we're feeling, then we know what to do with it. Like, we might not know exactly what we need to do with it, but we're like, hey, at least I'm feeling this right now. And I can then make a choice as to what I do next. Yeah. And, just hearing about like, and then I was able to do these other things because your energy was released. It was like, okay, I'm telling you, I don't want to do this. Right. And, but we get up here. Right. And yeah, I think that so much of the work that, us as coaches do is giving that, not only just the permission, but that direct, like, hey, here's what I'm seeing. And let's address it, and let's figure it out together as to what you want to be guided into next. And, just hearing what you're saying. So you mentioned the hypnotherapy, and you're also very holistic in your wellness. We share in common that we were both Beachbody coaches at one. Thank you, Beachbody. We met each other that way, but I think it was at the Brendan event that I was like, oh, I recognize that shaker cup. So been there, done that. But it did teach me. I will credit that it gave me an opening to personal development that I wasn't expecting. And it was like the vault opened. I was like, oh my gosh, like, so it's really great. But, hearing that you're very holistic in your practice, how do you incorporate that for your clients to really, again, bridge the gap between what their perception of their business and their work, even if they're like still in the nursing field, because I know you work with a lot of nurses too. But like, how do you help them bridge that gap of understanding with, keeping and maintaining their business in a way that operates well?
Yeah, great question. And there's so much behind that.
Yeah.
Yeah, taking rest is so powerful. And I work with high achieving women who are like people pleasers or recovering people pleasers. So they're always like, I need to do more. I should do more. How can you like when my clients first come in, like I tell them, like, you need to take a break. They're mad at me. I remember the first time my coach told me that. She's like, you need to take a break. And I was pissed. I'm like, no, like how does this work get done if I don't take a break? And so I like to say that power naps, which is something I've added into my routine when I notice I need it, has been so powerful for the women I serve, right? And when you come into a room with women who are going to support you and encourage you in a non-judgmental way, your energy shifts immediately. Immediately, even you saying yes, right? Beachbody's tagline was always decide, commit, succeed, right? So when you make a decision and quit blah, 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 like wallowing around, what should I do? Oh my gosh, what's going to help me? Like decide. So I help my clients make decisions faster because that takes up so much energy. So we make decisions. And then once you decide, you need to make a commitment. And you also have to, has always been the hardest part for me because, again, I'm a dreamer, right? I love to just like, oh, this will work out, like manifest stuff. But you have to look at the data. And I've had to, like, I used to tell my business coach, like, I hate, like, I would show up crying every time because I had to look at the data. And that wasn't comfortable because sometimes when you're just starting out, or maybe you've had some struggles, or maybe you're not running your business as effectively to reach the goals, right? Like, we can keep saying, like, it's going to happen. I'm going to manifest it. You can keep saying that. And I want you to keep manifesting and I want you to keep doing the work. But you also get to, like allow that commitment, that data to drive you in the best ways. And so this always, always, always comes back to your thought. What are you making that mean about you? And so often we make everything mean something tragic and dramatic. And it's, like, we are, need that safety. So it always comes back to the thought work, right? Even when I was coaching in Beachbody, right? I am fat, right? The thought is I am fat. And the result was she wanted to lose 30 pounds. What an awful, terrible, no good, very bad way to lose weight, right? Like I just think of that book, forever that kid's
Yeah, I was
book.
about to say the book came to mind. I was like, yep, I knew it.
And so it always comes back to the thought work, which is how I help them. And when in hypnotherapy, in a very supportive, non-judgmental, right? I am curious. I'm a curious cat, which makes me a really good coach because I'm going to get curious about the things that you tell me or the things that you tell yourself. And then I'm going to help you find that truth. I can tell you all day long what to do. I could tell you all day long that you're beautiful, that you're successful, that you have potential. But until you believe it, until you say it, until you own it, that's when it changes. And so helping women own that truth, right? Like, are you seeking comfort or are you seeking truth? And so that's the premise of the work that I do. And it's really powerful because, you can get into coaching programs where they have a system and they have a structure, and that's great. But I'm guessing y'all have seen systems and structures, yet why are you not where you want to be?
Right. Well, and how do you tie that in with midlife? I know that we're coming close to time, but
Yeah.
how are you really helping support women that are in that midlife transition actualize and really come into, well, I would say come into this embodiment, but really embrace this embodiment differently so that they can show up in their business as their most authentic version of themselves?
Great question. So in midlife, there's like a switch.
Yeah.
I'm lovely with words. I always tell my editor, I didn't go to school for words. By the way, I make up words all the time, which is fun to hang around me. But when you get to this midlife time, and someone once told me, right, because I started this work like in my early 30s. And people are like, you're not midlife, like, honey. And I was like, I am in the middle of my life. So let me just tell you, midlife means you are in the middle of your life. And what happens a lot of times when we're in our 20s, our 30s, our 40s, right? Like even up into our 60s, there are transitions. We start to see things differently. Different experiences start to happen in our life. We start to notice things differently. And sometimes we don't always know what to do with that, right? We're like looking for that guidance. We're looking for that permission from ourselves. We're needing that validation because what we did up until that point doesn't work, or it doesn't feel fun, or it doesn't bring us joy anymore, right? Things have changed. You're wiser, you're smarter. And so it's so powerful when you can use that energy to the best of your ability, right? Because there's so much potential. And I see so many women just like kind of slide into this midlife and they're lost and they feel lost inside, right? They're putting on a smile, they're doing all the things that people tell them, they're going through the motions, but they're exhausted and they're burnt out and they do not feel joy. And I want to shift that. I want to change that for women because it's so powerful. And let me tell you, like I was 30 before I ever went to therapy. I lost my mom when I was 4 years old in a tragic car accident. Very vital time of your life to lose a parent and someone who is your safety. And I didn't go, I had a very loving, supportive family, but they didn't want to see me sad. And so I didn't process those emotions when I was younger. So when I went to therapy when I was 30, my therapist literally said, are you on drugs? Because of how I was functioning, right? Like I was sleeping 4 hours a night. I was a full-time nurse. I had 2 kids. I was a beach body coach. Like, she's like, are you taking any stimulants? And I'm like, that's how I was functioning. I was fully burnt out. I had no idea.
Right. Right. Well, and it's really easy to mask our pain with overfilling the schedule, because if you don't have the time, you can't process, you can't sit in it. Which I think we kind of learned a little bit about that in 2020 when everything came to a halt and people were like, "Oh, what do we do?"
And people really do things. They
Yeah.
they got a new vice, aka alcohol, TV, fear of what was happening, right? Like people find a vice. And I like to say like, you don't need another drink, you need Jesus, right? So like you get to pick your vice, right? My vice is thought work and the Holy Spirit and supporting my nervous system. Like, holy cow, let's activate.
Yeah. Well, and it's that journey and process I think that we go through in our own experience to get there. Because I know I had a lot of vices back in the day, and it was just easy to turn to that instead of really just embracing everything that I was experiencing. And so once you do find it, though, I think it gets to be so much fun because you're like actually inquisitive about the patterns and cycles that you're finding. You're like, I wonder where this one, where this one is linked, or if it's, over here. So anyways, but so a couple of like last ending questions. How do people connect with you, first of all? And then what's one big takeaway that you hope the listeners have today from our conversation?
Great question. So I hang out mostly on Facebook, also on LinkedIn, but Helen Eimers. And I also have a free community on Facebook called the Midlife Womenpreneur Success Community. So I love to run little challenges. I go live, do special lives there that go a little bit deeper than what I do there. You can also check out my website at www.heleneimers.com. Just send me a message. I'd love to talk. I'd love to hop on a coffee chat with you and just learn about you and learn about what you're feeling and what you're going through and how I could support you in that and through that. So best way to find me is just, I go live a lot. I do goofy things. It's really fun. Like I said, I'm like a non-traditional coach. It's like, we're going to have fun. We're going to bring the joy and you're going to learn different ways to activate yourself. Cause maybe you've learned all of the like structural ways to do things. And it's like, no, we're going to have fun with that. And are you humming with me? Because it's a blast. And so what I would leave women with today is I don't love to like say like you have challenge or it's a homework, but I encourage you to just write yourself a permission slip today. And whatever that looks like for you, whatever you've been struggling with, whatever you've been waiting on, maybe you like, I give you permission to make the phone call. I give you permission to go outside for a 5-minute walk. I give you permission to look in the mirror and say, I love you, even if it feels awful. And this is why affirmations alone don't work, right? Because you can look in the mirror and be like, you're so beautiful. I love you. You're sexy. But if you don't believe it, you're going to get angry. You're going to get angry and you're going to get resentful. And so that's why I love to help women with power statements. We're going to feel it and we're going to use bridge thoughts, right? I'm becoming the woman who XYZ, because your brain is beautiful. Your brain needs you. It's waiting for you. And it's so freeing and enlightening when you just really step into your full potential and you believe what's actually possible when you find that truth.
Well, that is like a great, again, this conversation has been very impactful. I can tell that you really care deeply about helping people really step into their lives in a different way, a different energy, and just truly see themselves. And so I think it's incredible to see people like you really uplifting others in this supportive space. And so I'm excited to hopefully bridge any connections here from our live. And we'll make sure to get all of that information at the end for everyone. But thank you so much for your time. It's been incredible to share this space with you. And I'm just so grateful for different events that just randomly bring people together, because it's how we connected and ended up having lunch on a day I wasn't supposed to be somewhere. So, everything
so divine. Yeah.
Right? Like, how does a flight get canceled and I end up having this amazing lunch, right? So literally life is always aligning for us if we're willing and open to see it. But anyways, thank you everyone. We'll make sure to answer